Indiana Jones, Sherlock Holmes, James Bond, Juliet Capulet. None of these are characters that could have ever been accused of being flat. But our question for today is, how do you create a character on paper that's so real, so believable, they take on a life of their own? Let's have a look. Hi, Jaycie here with AutoCrit, and today we're talking about flat versus rounded characters in your novel. From a commercial perspective, a character that leaps off the page and enters into your readers' hearts will naturally drive demand for more stories with that character in them. And from a personal perspective, imagine how it would feel to create a fictional character that gets people so emotionally invested that they spawn fan art and fan fiction, and tourists flock to see where they lived. Such a thing is definitely possible. 221B Baker Street is a museum dedicated to Sherlock Holmes, and tourists in Verona can visit Juliet's balcony. All this despite the fact that these people never even existed. But of course, the big question is there a foolproof way to avoid having a flat protagonist lead your story? Sadly, the answer is no. If there was a perfect recipe, everyone who put a pen to paper would be getting it right all the time. There's a strange interplay between pop culture and public mood, niche demands, and creative rebellion. Probably some kind of magic dust in there too. But the one thing all famous characters have in common is that they're believable. They have virtues, but they also have flaws. In short, they have depth. So let's take a look over a few ways you could turn a potentially flat character into a deep personality that captures hearts and minds. Simple definition, critics might say a poorly written character is flat, while a well-written one is rounded. A flat character will only have a few specific features that differentiate them from others. These are usually something trivial, like a unique scar or a strong accent. A rounded character will have a more detailed personality, packed with more varied traits, even on a purely physical level. A scar across their arm could have come from fighting off a shark, hinting at a background of danger and adventure. A broad Brooklyn accent may cover a confusing tendency to use distinctly Australian slang, which forces all sorts of questions about the character's history. Contrast is important when you want to round out a flat character. Parts of a character's personality that contradict one another are fascinating to readers, but there's a balance. While facets of a rounded character's behavior and beliefs should contradict, promoting inner conflict, they should rarely be inconsistent. For example, imagine you're writing about a burly, rough and tumble type of guy. He's a long-distance trucker, tackling the icy roads to Alaska. It's dangerous work, and he comes across as a dangerous person, but he's taking on these dangerous jobs to save money for an expensive eye operation for his beloved cat. The cat even comes along on the drives and offers our husky hero a longed-for sense of emotional support and companionship. And let's add to the fact that on long journeys, the trekker enjoys listening to opera, belting out an impressive alto as he steers along treacherous highways. This collection of personality quirks might be surprising, but they're perfectly believable, endearing even. On the other hand, if this character also had a crippling, anxiety-fueled fear of driving, you're going to have to come up with a seriously powerful reason to get him behind the wheel of a tractor trailer. If that reason isn't convincing enough, then the character feels contrived. One thing to keep in mind is that it probably isn't possible or a good idea to add true depth to every character in your novel. To make a character fully rounded, you need to give the reader time to learn details about them, and that takes up space on the page. Even if you gave this attention and time to every character you introduced, you'd have a hard time managing your book's pace. Bogging scenes down with detail that won't matter just a few pages later isn't a very good approach. Because of this, most great books will have a cast of both flat and rounded characters. In fact, minor flat characters can be a bonus, as they amplify the rounded appearance of your main character in comparison. The trick is to find a balance between the two. Here's a quick checklist for things to make sure you include in your fully rounded characters. Some minor characters should also have a few of these, but not all. Anyone reading your book should be able to explain the goal of your protagonist. It can be a large goal, like to save the world from aliens, or something smaller in scale, like finishing a half marathon. Just make sure you're explicit about what the goal is and what's at stake should your character fail. strength to a character, they need to change. Just as with goals, changes can be major or minor. A major change might be leaving behind a damaging ideology, while a minor change could be deciding they now enjoy the taste of olives. Whatever you choose, a character must go through emotional and behavioral change if they're going to be deep. Every human has weaknesses. It might be a sweet tooth, a superiority complex, or an obsession with growing orchids that decimates their social life. Whatever weaknesses your character has, it should put a strain on their relationships. This will drive conflict and drama in your story, even outside the main plot, and make for a more interesting read. To balance out their weaknesses, a rounded character will also have things they're really good at. For the biggest emotional impact, the character should discover and grow this strength as the plot unfolds. Make it clear to your readers that the character is growing as a person, showing how this strength adjusts their emotional outlook in the world. Get that right, and you'll make them far more human and relatable. Instead of inventing personality traits to give your characters added depth, try giving them some of your personal experience. Your character is going to have something in common with you, a moment of sorrow, hope, frustration, anger, or joy. Reflect on the moments in your life where you have experienced a similar emotion and try to channel that into your writing. This can be quite an intense experience as a writer, but it will add extra authenticity to your words and make your character all the more relevant. Hopefully, these tips will help you say goodbye to that flat character and welcome a believable, relatable protagonist to your story. But as for some kind of perfect equation you can use to create a cultural phenomenon like Sherlock Holmes, we don't know of any. If you have any suggestions, we'd love to see them in the comments below, so don't be shy. And don't forget to subscribe for more great writing and editing tips. From all of us here at AutoCrit, thanks for watching.